Everybody out there, it seems like it's been a year since I talked to you guys. Happy New Year 2025. Thank you very much for joining us here. First day of 2025. Hope the new year is prosperous for everybody out there. Great start for 2025. I hope that all of you out there are just take this time, especially if you get to be my age, like reflective and thank God for another year and thank for one more year around the sun. Hopefully it's as prosperous as it can be. Hope for everybody. So we appreciate that. Last day of Kwanzaa, Imani, faith. Have your faith today. Anybody, all especially African American holiday. Kwanzaa, me and my wife been celebrating that for years. So thank you very much for that as well. Let's check this out here. Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com, and you can book the information if you want a notary come to you in the Winchester, Virginia area. We're definitely coming out here now. The first year, we're going to be ramping up a little bit more here with the notary services. Definitely, if you need wedding officiant, if you need field inspection, if you need any of those services as well, if you need real estate documents, real estate closing, anything like that, we definitely will be. I'm more than happy to go ahead and help you with that here as well. We are going to have another Genesis Notary Services live stream here in about a few weeks here on Martin Luther King Day. We're going to go ahead and stream. And for those of you that are going to go ahead and check that out, so Genesis Notary Services live stream is coming up here pretty soon as well. See, Charles Harris, we are LegalShield.com. Value of Legal Shield is tremendous. So those of you out here that are looking for a lawyer or anything like that, definitely check out Legal Shield. It's great value for you. I can't emphasize enough how much value you're going to get out of Legal Shield. And definitely go to raverysports.company.site. The app, man, y'all are going to love it. Once we get the app rolling, y'all are going to love it. So you can actually carry around Ravery Sports in your phone with you, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. Not an official rollout date yet, but, man, I'm excited. I'm really excited about the app and all the things we're going to be doing 2025 on this. So watching this on the Ravery Sports of the Drive to Productions, Drive to the Top Productions, we're so excited about everything that's coming in 2025. All right. But let's get down to business. All right. So it's been a while. It seems like it's been a while since we've had a game. It's been a game. It was like an early Wednesday, Christmas Day game that we've had. So we've had a little while since we've had a Ravens game, but we got one. Had one on Christmas Day. The score speaks for itself. 31-2. Nothing from the Texans in this game. This was even more impressive, I think, than the win over the Giants. Texans did absolutely. They were about as a zero as you could get. They had maybe one drive. Even that was kind of aided by penalties. They had the sack by. You had the sack by. They had the sack in the end zone that was happened as well. We'll go ahead and do that. Since we're live, I'm gonna order my food here. Food delivery showed up there. Thank you very much for that. That's what happens when you go live. Right? So as far as that goes, um, so definitely in this game, what happened? Lamar Jackson, our fearless leader, 10 for 15, 162. I think like Lamar, you're seeing a little bit less now with the MVP run total as far as that goes. I think Joe Burrow is now in this thing. I'm seeing now because this team might get into play. I don't think they get in. Um, we'll talk about that. And Josh Allen, I have no idea how it's going to go. More to the point, I'm not as worried about how the MVP race is going to go as far as that goes, but definitely how the Ravens are going to do as far as in the playoffs. I think that's more the focus for Lamar. 10 of 15 in this game, he did whatever he wanted to do. I think they ran the ball first, but if he'd have thrown the ball more, he definitely could have. Derrick Henry was just complete annihilation in this one. 27, 147, 1 TD. The only negative they had on Derrick Henry was when they tackled him in the backfield, like when they were on their own goal line in the first half. Then there was the safety, but other than that, it was all Derrick Henry. It was all Derrick. Derrick was fantastic in this one. I thought the line, believe it or not, I wasn't exactly happy with the line in this one. At left guard, Falele, I don't know what to say. If they can't win a Super Bowl, that it's right guard play that's really going to cost them. I really didn't think that was good, but that's really trying to nitpick. I mean, offensively, I thought they were as good as they wanted to be in this game. They didn't throw the ball a lot. They ran the ball a lot. I thought Justice Hill was solid until he had the injury. I'm sorry, they had Keaton Mitchell in this one. I thought the run game was about excellent. The offense is real deal. This is a Super Bowl effective offense that the Ravens have. Mark Andrews is still around. Yes, sir. 2 catches, 68 yards. I thought Andrews down the stretch here really is showing his color. He's getting still no longer getting all the volume maybe he once did, but the catches he's getting are really good. So Mark Andrews, I think, has been fantastic here down the stretch. Andrews, one of the better, I think, tight ends, I think, in the entire NFL still. This season has been weird for tight ends. A lot of the numbers are down across the board except for Brock Bowers. So, but I would say Andrews, I think, definitely prime for a stretch run. Roquan, best player on defense for them as well. Not much for Joe Mixon in this one. And I think Roquan was all up there within business. He had 7 tackles. I thought Roquan was really good, all over the field. Definitely to partnering him now, definitely looked like Trent Simpson just hit the bench. I really didn't see much of him at all. More of Chris Board next to him, and I think Chris Board and Malik Harrison getting the majority of the time. So this may be something maybe looking at. Maybe not as happy with Trent Simpson, but Roquan I think is terrific. Roquan I thought was fantastic. Not his strongest season overall. I think he's been better, but he's been solid. Solid I think is a fair term for that. Defense overall was, I mean, they had a shutout effectively with the shutout. There was no points except for the safety in the end zone. So good stuff from the Ravens defense, obviously, in this one. Stroud, sophomore jinx is a real thing. He's airmailing passes because he doesn't trust his protection. The line that he has this year, not nearly as good as he had last year, and it shows, and you can see it. That's what's going on with Stroud. I thought as well. I thought their line play really is part of the issue. And the other issue, obviously, the wide receiver play. Tank Dell getting the injury, probably not going to play at all next year. Really gruesome injury last week. Stephon Diggs came in to help him. He got injured. Nico Collins is probably like the last man standing there as well. 1 INT. I'd stick with him though. I don't think we're going that far, but I think like need to shore up some things around him. Needs to mature a little bit. Nico Collins, since I brought it up, go to the right receiver. Three catches, 59 yards. Definitely, easily the best receiver I think going forward. I think they're going to have to pair somebody with him in the offseason as well, because you don't have any other receiving help. I think the Ravens did exactly what they should do. Watch Nico Collins cover him up. Marlon, I thought, was really good in this game as well. He's been good all year long. I thought they did a good enough job against Nico Collins in this one. Joe Mixon not effective at all. A lot of that was, I think, because Roquan and the offensive and the interior was really good. Also, too, I think in this one it was because they were behind. Like the Ravens just leaped up on them and they scored so many points. So Mixon really not effective in this one as well. Concerned going into the game about the pass rush they had. This was really all the pass rush they got in terms of overall look here. Will Anderson, half a sack. Tommy Talaga, they shared one sack. I put it as one sack. The Ravens line, look, their left side has been really solid all year long. Ronnie Stanley has been putting, they have him take a pay cut. He's probably put himself in a position to really get big money in the offseason. Patrick McCary, up and down, but it's been a starter level right guard. Linderbaum, I think, might be becoming the best center in the NFL at some point. So the right side, right guard has been problematic, but I think they held their own against a decent pass rush as well. Those French fries are for you, by the way. Those French fries are for you, by the way. Oh, okay. All right. Again, we're ordering food here. Right? So, great stuff by them as well. I think they are not going to get any farther in the playoffs. I think the Texans overall have been disappointing. They're going to win the division. I think that's a more byproduct of the fact that the AFC South hasn't done anything as well. Colts not any good. Colts are having their issues. Titans obviously having their issues. Jags, no Trevor Lawrence a lot this year. So they're going to win the division. But these two teams are not on the same level. Not at all. So Ravens 31-2 in this one. And we got a game Saturday at 4:30. Okay. So it was a possibility. Most of the games are on Sunday. They're scheduling 2 games on Saturday because there's no game on Thursday and there's no game on Monday. So they got 2 games on Saturday. They didn't name any of the games up until the end of the games were over to schedule them in proportion to what matters. So the Ravens are getting an early 4:30 game on Saturday. So they're going to be the first ones to win. The Ravens winning simple, win the game. They're in as they're already in the playoffs. They'll be in as the AFC North champions for another year. They will be most likely the 3 seed. They will be the 3 seed. I don't think they can get the 2 seed from Buffalo. I think Buffalo is too far ahead of the test. So they'll be the 3 seed if they win. If they lose this game, there's still a chance they can win if the Squealers actually lose to Cincinnati. But if they win, the Squealers would have to win and the Ravens would have to lose for that to happen. If that was to happen, Ravens show up as wild card as well. So they're going to have to probably go on the road in the first round. MVP of the league is Lamar Jackson. He's been fantastic all season long. That touchdown interception ratio is like you can't even do that on a game of Madden. He's going to go over the 4,000 passing mark in this one as well. I don't think there's any question about it whether he has been the best player in the league. It's close for a couple reasons because I think the offense this year has been better than it was a year ago on a lot of levels. But I think it's definitely very close what the Ravens have done, what Lamar has done. But he's been fantastic. He shouldn't have any trouble in this one the way he's going. So Lamar, good stuff by Lamar all season long. Derrick Henry, I don't think he's in the MVP conversation. He's definitely, if he can have a monster game, he can get 2,000 yards. They have more than gotten what they expected from Derrick Henry, to say the least. I was a little skeptical of the Derrick Henry signing in the offseason, not because I didn't think that Derrick Henry would be any good or he was too old. That was kind of ridiculous. But I think like the way the Ravens don't really like bell cow, they don't really like to run the ball much with one back. But Derrick Henry, once they figured out, hey, well, let's go and use Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's been terrific for him all year long. 305, 173, 14 TDs. Derrick Henry has been fantastic for them all season. So definitely that is outstanding stuff by Derrick Henry all season long. Also here, Zay Flowers. I think we have been waiting for so long for them to feature a receiver, not just get the yardage, the catches, whatever. The offense has changed. Featuring Derrick Henry, looking for Zay Flowers. Okay, so long. John Harbaugh had the philosophy of, well, let's see how the game goes. It went this way, whatever. They were doing this and da. No, this year, second half, I've seen it. Posing their will, imposing Zay Flowers, imposing Derrick Henry, let Lamar do what Lamar does. That has been the formula. So they have actually, I think, learned a lesson from what's happened last year in Kansas City, imposing their will. Good offenses impose their will. They don't just let the defense and the fronts and everything dictate what they do. They're proactive, and that's what it looks like this year. Good stuff. Pass rush, we've kind of complained, but the numbers are decent here for your outside linebackers. Kyle Van Noy's having almost can go over the 12 sack mark over this year. Kyle Van Noy's been terrific. I've been raving all season about Kyle Van Noy. Setting the edge, playing the run well, mentoring the young guys, good head on his shoulders, fundamentally sound. That's what I see a lot, a fundamentally sound football player. Not a super athlete, but a guy who's fundamentally sound. Owe, 9 sacks. That's good. Owe, I feel like we're kind of waiting. I think this is big for him to get that 10 sack number, though. I think that would do a lot for him. Answer a lot of questions, whatever. If he goes ahead and gets out there Sunday. So really rooting for Daffy Owe to get that sack as well. Still maybe need to shore up some things with him, but I think that is a big deal for Daffy Owe to get that number here as well. I don't know who's starting at quarterback. So I don't know. They haven't announced it. Jameis Winston's probably on the shelf. They haven't. DTR has been starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Bailey Zappi. I'm not sure. Neither of these guys is an NFL quarterback. Robinson can at least run a bit as well. I don't even think he's a Tyler Huntley. I don't even think he was the. I think the Browns kind of like him because he's young. Bailey Zappi, I think, was a backup in New England for a while. They may give him a shot because DTR struggled. They can't use James Winston, still hurt. Can't use Deshaun Watson. I don't know what to tell you. They're not going to score a lot of points in this game. The Ravens actually need this game. Jerome Ford, I have him on the graphic. I don't know if he's going to play or if it's going to be Pierre Strong. He's questionable for the game as well. They're definitely not going to have Nick Chubb out there, as we know. So we're going to have, I think he should start if he's able to start. Could be the backup Pierre Strong in the game as well. This is the biggest drop off I think for them as well. You could talk about Deshaun Watson, but last year their run game and their up front, they were so strong, really fell in the abyss as far as their run game, as far as that goes. A bright light has been Jerry Jeudy. You look at the numbers here, 84 catches, almost 1,200 yards, 1,166, 4 TDs. So good stuff from him. I think he's been a solid addition. 4 TDs. C. Swift kind of called him out. Jag, just a guy. So he's showing, man, I am more than that. I'm not Jag. I'm not a Jag. I'm not just a guy. I'm a guy who can come in and contribute at a high level here. And he's been their best receiver, regardless of the quarterbacking and all the issues that they've had. So it's been good stuff from him this season as well. So good stuff from him, one of the better, I think, wide receivers, I think, in the AFC North this season. No question about it. You look statistically, he's good. Are they going to have Myles Garrett going forward? That'll be interesting. 14 sacks. Still, look, this guy is fantastic production. So I think the Browns are definitely going to get a lot of offers for him in the offseason. He's to the point now where players get, look, I want to win a Super Bowl. I think about great players use one example like Aeneas Williams. Played so many years on a bad Arizona Cardinals team. Get me to St. Louis, get me to somebody where I can go ahead and get a Super Bowl victory. So go somewhere where I can go ahead and win a world championship. I think he's kind of at that point, but you better put 2-3 guys on him in this game as well. X Factor. Let's start with Devon. I hit it by accident there, but Malik Harrison definitely looks like he's taking over as starter for the remainder of the playoffs, for however long this goes. Interested to see what happens, Malik, and not just the offseason, but just going forward. We gotta know what he is, though. Like, good special teams guy, good contributing guy, good at the line of scrimmage as well. I think like he's not great in pass coverage, but at least they kind of know what they're getting. They can kind of do some different things with Malik, with Roquan in there. I think Roquan kind of feels comfortable with him and Chris Board. So we're going to put the X on Malik. Let's see how it keeps going. We know for sure they're going to try and run the football no matter who it is. And I think this is the Achilles heel of the entire starting group, Daniel Falele. I mean, again, people kept getting me in the comments like it was bad, the offense. The line was not bad. The line was not bad. He just didn't play well. This is not going to – you're going to go in the playoffs. Now you're going to see Chris Jones again. You're going to see in the first round, you may see Cam Hayward again. You're going to see some really good defenses here. And it's concerning to have this issue here. Maybe we can overcome it. Maybe they'll play Ben Cleveland or Voorhees, but I don't think they're going to do that. So, obviously, the Ravens are going to win this game big. I don't think they can't even. I question how many points they can even get. Getting the early game, I don't know how much of an advantage that was for the Ravens because I was kind of hoping almost it would go the other way. So they would get like a late Saturday game or a late 4:30 game. Pittsburgh would play first. So it's a chance that you could have been resting players if the Bengals were successful. But it went the other way. So that's an advantage, I think, for Cincinnati in this one. So they are going to have the benefit of maybe, Steelers resting players. Mike Tomlin, as of now, said he won't, but we'll see when it actually happens. But there we go. Ravens. This Sunday coming up here, going against the Browns this week. It has now been, I definitely looked it up, it's been 30 years now since the announcement that the Browns were coming to Baltimore when the late Art Modell actually moved the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore. It has been that long. I was actually just coming out of high school. That tells you how long ago it was. And now we're going to have the last game of the season here, the Ravens and the Browns. All right. 1 second. All right. Management, appreciate your cooperation. All right. So we got the Ravens out of the way there. Definitely we're going to be in the playoffs. We're going to see right where we're positioned on Sunday. Now let's get to the rest of the league. Big Five going to be a little different because it's the last week. So we're going to go over that as well. Let's Big five biggest games on the schedule that are not Raven games as well. So definitely we're going to go ahead and go over that. as well. So last week, week 17, a lot happened as well. Commanders and Falcons, definitely an outstanding game again. Um, Jaden Daniels is the real deal. Jaden Daniels is no joke. I mean, this guy, Lamar Jackson 2.0 is what I call him in the draft. It's what I'm seeing on the field. Excellent poise down the stretch, couple times in the Bears game and in this one. Really look calm. Falcons, I think, have a good rookie quarterback. I'm kind of questioning the decision to actually switch Cousins. I think I'm the only one to do it that I've heard to actually switch it. I think they're just kind of anxious to see what Penix has, frankly. I think they've kind of decided, okay, we're not going to, Cousins isn't the guy, so let's go ahead and do what we're going to do in the long term, and let's go ahead and make the switch. They're going to, I don't know if they're going to get in. We'll see this week. Falcons, the Vikings are no joke. Vikings are not a joke at all. This team, I think the numbers on the jersey is the only thing where you're saying why there any type of where there's any type of doubt, hesitation on their part. Quarterback is outstanding. Run game has been outstanding. I think their offensive line is fantastic. They probably have the best receiver in the league, or if he's not one or two, either him or Jamar Chase, best receiver in the league. Pass rush defense, they're physical, too. They're not just a finesse team. They really hit the Packers in the mouth, which was good. Packers, I think, are really good. I think the Packers are right where I thought they were. Good, solid playoff team. Not quite a team yet for maybe a Super Bowl. But I got to tell you, I mean, they look pretty good. They look pretty good, I think, even in the loss. Jordan Love needs a good run game. I think that was the difference that I saw, where Darnold really doesn't need to have the run game as much as Jordan Love needs to, as much as Jordan Love needs to have it as well. Chefs all over the Squealers in the early game on Christmas. The Chefs, I think, probably, they speak for themselves. So it's going to run through Kansas City. They're going to have a huge layoff. So they're going to play on Christmas Day. That's going to be 11 days. They're going to rest their starters this week, a lot of them. Then they're going to have the bye, then the number one seed. So that's a big, big layoff, even more than usual. But they're going to be the number one seed. Squealers are kind of, the offense isn't good enough. The offense is not good enough to beat the Kansas City, to beat Buffalo, to beat the Ravens. It's not going to happen for them in the playoffs. And the Bengals, I think, you got to kill these slow starts. That's why Joe Burrow's not going to win the MVP, in my opinion, because these slow starts you want to keep getting off to early in the season as well. Broncos, I think, are a decent playoff team. I think Knicks is developing. I think some kind of like Minnesota, not quite as good as Minnesota, but they're well coached as well. They play with a lot of discipline. I think the Broncos are a very disciplined team. All right. So we mentioned this one already. Bengals and the Squealers. This is huge. Squealers now, 8 o'clock Saturday. Bengals, I think, are going to be playing for the playoffs. Bengals need to win this game, obviously, and they need the Dolphins to lose to get in. And to get in, and they need Denver to lose over Kansas City. That's their playoff scenario to get in. I don't think all that's going to happen, but they're certainly going to need it to win. Squealers, still, it's a possibility, depending on what happens in the Ravens game, that they could win the North. We will see what happens there if they can win the North in this one. If the Ravens lose, I doubt the Ravens lose. I just said they're playing the Browns. I think the Browns and the Giants are the worst teams in the league. Squirrels, I think, are where they've been the last few years. Bottom playoffs. That's where it is. 6, 7, 5, 6 seed. Defense is really good enough. Offense not really good enough. It's interesting to see what happens with Russell. I think the Bengals absolutely win this game. He said he's not going to rest players. I'm not quite as sure of that. If it's not going to, at that point, you're going to know if you're not going to make decisions. I don't see the logic in playing them the whole game, especially if you know you're going to play next week, especially if you're going to play possibly the Bengals or the Ravens, or whoever it is going to be in the next. So we will see in that. Panthers are here because the Falcons have the opportunity to go ahead and win the South on Sunday. So the Falcons need to win against Carolina, and they need also to the Bucks to lose this game, their game as well. A few seconds about Carolina. Carolina, I think they're getting the record isn't good, but I think there's at least some hope in Carolina. I think, like, hey, look, Chris Hubbard, I think they got a run game. They're happy about that. And they also have, Bryce Young is coming along. So they got to get some guys on defense. They got rid of Brian Burns. But I think there's a little hope in Atlanta. Atlanta, I'm not overly impressed with the Falcons, frankly. I think they get in, they'll be 9-8. I think that's about right. That's considering where they came from, too. I think they did a lot to get better. They got better. I think if they get in, I think they're definitely the worst team, I think, in the playoffs as well. But I think they're just waiting to wrap up with Penix next year. I think if they get in, I don't think they win any games. They need the Saints to be successful over the Bucks because the Bucks winning in. Bucks win the division. They go ahead, win this game. They get in. Real quick about New Orleans. New Orleans, I think, finally maybe getting out of the cat jail that they've been in forever. I don't think it's this off season, but finally, after next season, they can really start a rebuild because they can't even really rebuild. I think that's why they signed Kamara and some of these guys because the cat would have been monstrous more than what it was. So they might be Cameron Jordan and Kamara contract and the Carr contract and a lot of this stuff is going to be ending soon enough. So that it looks like they maybe after 2025 season, next season, seeing some light at the tunnel with the cap. Not very good this year. Defense has been terrible all year. Line also not good. Bucks, I think, are a solid team. I think the Bucks should win this game, and the Bucks should get into the playoffs and actually do something when they're there. Chiefs and Broncos in this one. Absolutely love the Broncos in this one. Broncos need this win to get in the playoffs. They've lost the last couple games, but I think they're a decent enough team. Kind of feel about them the way I do Atlanta. They're good enough to get in, good improvement, but you're done now. This is about as far as you're going to get. Chiefs, I think, are going to have a long rest. We'll see how that works out. I think them being a veteran team, it'll help them. Plus, they got games at home, but it'll be interesting. This is that's a long time to wait. I think they are right by resting players, but again, Christmas Day till I think we're talking about the 19th of. I think that's right. Like the 19th, the weekend of the 19th. That's about 20 plus days from football. Broncos win this game, should win it easy. This is the biggest game, obviously, of the weekend, the Sunday night game, the final game of the regular season where the Vikings beat the Lions. I said it. I'm sold. I'm sold. The Vikings I love everything I've seen from them. The line, again, is really good. Darnold is a real quarterback. There's nothing, I can't say it anymore where he's just having a good stretch. I kind of wasn't a buyer, but I'm buying. They should extend him. I think everything I've seen with Darnold has been terrific. I got no problem going ahead and extending Darnold as well. The Lions I really like too. I mean, for most of the year, I said the Lions were the best team in the NFC. That's true. That was actually fairly impressive last week, the win over the 49ers. But I think the injuries on the defense against this offense is a problem. They're missing a lot of guys on defense. And I think that's a problem against an offense as good as Minnesota's is been all season. Aaron Jones and Jefferson and all that as well. So I do like the Vikings to take the number one seed. So it'll be the Chiefs and the Vikings with the bye in the NFC as well. Who would have said that in the preseason? The Vikings would have had the number one seed. There you go. Big Five. 5 biggest games in the NFL that are not. that are not Raven games. So enjoy all the games this weekend here, the final weekend of the regular season, and uh, we will go ahead and do Big Five wild card round next week. We can absolutely go ahead and check that out. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the college football playoff games that are going on, that have went on right there. 31-14 was the winner of the Fiesta Bowl. Penn State, no surprise over Boise State. Really did a good job on Genty as well. I think that was what we were all waiting for, to see how he would do against a really good Penn State team. I think this is probably the biggest win of James Franklin's career. Penn State, good for him. Look, Penn State has been the bronze medal winner in the Big Ten for the last few years. Michigan down this year, but Michigan's so good recent years. Ohio State really good. So, but they've been the bridesmaid, but they have been a top 5 team. They just haven't been able to get. I think the Nittany Lions were the biggest beneficiary of the playoffs. Should have Boise State been the 3 seed? Yes. I don't care. I think we college football guys, you guys are too some of you are just too snobbish in terms of the SEC and the Big Ten and stuff like that. It is okay to have a team earn it and win. It's hard if they lose, so what? But they should be there. So I definitely think that was fine with Boise State and the ranking and all that. But I don't think Penn State is no joke. Outstanding on both sides of the ball. Drew Aller, I think, has the opportunity next year to become a number 1 pick in the draft as well. Peach Bowl earlier today, 39-31, Arizona, Texas over Arizona State. In this one, this was an outstanding finish as well. Good to see Quinn Ewers play so well in this one. Little calls for Arch Manning. If y'all don't know, Arch Manning is the grandson of Archie Manning, the nephew of Peyton and Eli Manning, backup quarterback. And Ewers has kind of been struggling a little bit down the stretch. And I think he was fantastic today. I thought he was the reason they won. Excellent in the overtime as well. 2-point conversion. Overtime. I thought Texas, I think, is the team in the SEC. I think the SEC is a little bit overblown, but I think Texas is the team in Georgia. Those are the 2 solid teams in the SEC that are really, really good. Arizona State, this kind of went the way I thought. I thought it would be close. I thought I kind of overlooked how good Arizona State was. I mean, they've been solid all year. The conference isn't as good. I think that's fair. There's a lot of shakeup in the Big 12. So I think so that's kind of fair. Some of that, but Texas, I think, came in the right time. They're good on all levels. I think Texas actually might be the number 1 team in the country going into next season as well. Ohio State and Oregon, I'm checking the score now. It is now over. Let me get that graphic up. 41-21. It looks like now it is done. 41-21. So this is a departure from what happened in the regular season as well. Ohio State, the 8 seed, they actually got the number 1 seed because they did beat Ohio State at home during the regular season. Actually, though, the loss to Michigan kept them out of the championship game. The Big Ten championship, they got in as an 8 seed that lowered their seed. And this was no question about this today. Absolutely. Ohio State, I think, is fantastic. I think the concern I have with them is Will Howard at quarterback. Is he good enough to take them all the way they need to go? I think today was a big statement of it as well. So that showed a lot to me today. A good day for him. 17, 26, 319 as well. Definitely match what Dylan Gabriel does. I thought Dylan Gabriel was a little. I almost don't want to. I want to say disappointing. I think it might be too strong, but a little meh. I really thought we'd see a little bit more from him with that massive offensive line and defensive line they have in Oregon as well. So, but maybe a coach disappointing there as well. No Sugar Bowl tonight because of the violence that happened in New Orleans. Prayers for all involved in that one. Somebody apparently drove a car in the downtown on New Year's Eve. 10 people were killed, 35 people were injured, etc. So obviously nobody's in the mood for a Sugar Bowl tonight. We'll have it. They're going to have it Thursday night as well. I do think Georgia wins this game. I think Georgia is fantastic. This will be very close without Carson Beck as well. I was on the stream with Dylan. He's packing up his stuff. He's like, well, stay for the Sugar Bowl, dude. Stay with your team. Do whatever you're gonna do. Don't just. But anyway, didn't listen to me. So we will find that out as well. Maryland basketball Terps. So now it's official. The Terps are in the top 25 as far as at least the coaches poll. Made 24. The coaches poll had a little bit of break. They played Saturday at UMES. UMES was able to stay in the game. I thought they were actually able to stay competitive. I thought they didn't look great in the first half. UMES is a little better of a MEAC team than a lot of the teams in the MEAC as well. I'm calling them MEAC. I'm not even sure it's going to MEAC, but they're a little bit better as well. The Terps eventually got there, outraced them. They looked a little flat, but they were able to win. So tomorrow they're going to go against Washington out on the West Coast. They're going out to the West Coast. They're going to play Washington, and then they're going to play Oregon after that on Sunday. So Oregon ranked 9th. So we will see. We'll get a little more in depth with the Terps next week because they're going to be playing the Blue Blood. Oh, not Tom Selleck and all those guys, etc. They're going to be playing College Blood UCLA Bruins in this one as well. All right. Let's shift to baseball real quick. And, well, I want to talk about this real quick. I got this scheduled, and we're going to obviously talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about Corbin Burns. So Corbin Burns signs, it's official, a monster deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks this week. So I think it was 7 years. 210 he signed for. What did Burns sign for? I think it was 7 years, 210. I think it was monstrous what he signed for. Look, fans. Burns was not going to sign here, I think, for the most part. I think there was several factors into that why he didn't sign. I don't necessarily buy it when I hear players say that they want to go on. It was 6 years, 210 for Burns. I don't necessarily buy it when I hear players say they want to sign at home. That's kind of crazy. What kind of numbers? He could fly anywhere, $35 million a year. Some of it is state tax, etc. But I think the bigger thing was I'm not sure the Orioles made any offer, a serious offer. I think they didn't waste their time. Like if Burns had to come to them in this camp, I think what it was, I can't get a good read on Michael I, but I think he would have made an offer at that point. They didn't make an offer. He signed with the West Coast. The Giants were waiting for a time. I don't think the Orioles even bothered to make a serious offer. I think they would have liked to have signed him. So I think they kept the door open if it happened. But I'm not sure there was much of a door with Burns. I think I'm a little surprised how many fans thought it was, though. A lot of you thought Burns was going to sign. I don't know why. That was going to be super expensive to actually do that. Even if he had been their first choice, and I don't know that he was. He had other bidders. He didn't grow up here. His career wasn't here. He was traded here. So I didn't think Burns was going to sign. So let's see if the Orioles are going to sign Jack Flaherty or anything else in the offseason. We will see about that. Now let's get to it. Off-season, deep here in the off-season. Next week, we're going to start our top 10 list of each position going into the season, getting a little closer to spring training. Now that we're here in January, spring training starts at the end of February. So we're going to start our top 10 list. Season starts in March. Who were the top 20 Oreos of all time? So, is what it says it is. Factors into the list sometimes. Winning matters. So that kind of takes some of the current guys out of it. Not more recent here. Winning matters. Longevity matters. Awards matter. You know, MVP, Cy Young, that stuff that matters. And have you, so awards, MVP, Cy Young, winning was the Orioles. Tenure with the Orioles, longevity factors in a little bit as well, especially if you're an all-timer. All right, so who are the top 20 guys ever? Flanny, the last guy to ever pitch at Memorial Stadium, had about a long career with the Orioles. It was kind of tough to pick between him, Dennis Martinez, a lot of those guys of that era, my first era really watching growing up. But I think Flanny definitely pitched in that era, came back a little bit later, the 90s, Flanny years. Shout out to the late Mike Flanagan. I definitely got to put Flanny in the top 20, one of the all-time wins leaders. Not an elite pitcher, but steady for a long time. That's definitely one way I'll describe Mike Flanagan as well. Nick Markakis. I would really have loved to see the Angelos be the Rubenstein group been around when Nick Markakis was here. Loyal soldier, long time, but he was kind of in that era where they didn't really win much. So I think that's the reason why he's lower. But he was an Oriole. Sometimes we know it. Like I feel that way. Usually, like basketball example, LeBron James doesn't feel like a Laker. Some guys don't feel like this franchise. Nick Markakis felt like a Baltimore Oriole all the way through, even though he finished with Atlanta, had some success there, but excellent out in right field. Nick Markakis, I have him at 19. Another guy, a little bit of a victim of injuries, kind of cut him short, and not winning a lot during his era. But Brian Roberts, I think, was fantastic for the Orioles. I think the thing I think about him, he was the leader of the group that we had at the time. You think about a guy like Brian Roberts, Trey Mancini didn't make it on the list, but these guys were guys who kind of held it together as well. I think had it not been for some of the injuries he had late, he had several years late where he was fighting injuries. He really could have been much higher on the list as well, but it kind of cut short. But a very good second baseman leadoff hitter. He was really the last to get a good size contract too, like as well. Really, that I was kind of after him. It kind of stopped. I think I don't think there was one after him as far as a multi-year deal with that. We're still waiting on multi-year deals for Adley and Gunnar Henderson. Bobby Grich. Some of you younger guys maybe not known this, but you love the name Grich. Great offensive player, probably as good as an offensive player for many years at second base as they had. Not a long tenure, but very productive on the offensive side. Good offensive second baseman. I think like the numbers with Roberts and him are very comparable, but he won more games than Brian did. So, or a team was better. So I'm going with Bobby Grich, number 17. Good offensive player. Good for a long time with California as well. But I have him at number 17. Paul Blair. My mom, if she's watching this, is going to be loving because Paul Blair and Boo Powell are two of her favorites of all time. Excellent offensive player for so many years. He was. Definitely one of the best center fielders the Orioles ever had. Some would say he's the best. I have him at 16, but I think the era the Orioles won, the guy at the top of the order, excellent defensively. When you talk about Paul Blair, you could argue one of the best defensive players the Orioles ever had was Paul Blair, roaming center field, number 16, Tippy Martinez. Love the leg kick. I had to do a picture with the leg kick with Tippy. Orioles closer for 10 years. Definitely the 83 closer when the last time the Orioles won the World Series. Didn't have a ton of saves, believe it or not, because he wasn't, I don't think or a reliever for 10 years. I think that's more accurate. I don't know if he was the closer for 10 years, but definitely a long run with the Orioles as well. Excellent reliever. I think one of the better relievers I think the Orioles ever had as well. For the longest time, you said Tippy was the best reliever they had. Mark Belanger. I can't put up anything with the Orioles without somebody telling me how good Mark Belanger was. Defensively, he was terrific. Definitely, the glove was there. Him next to Brooks Robinson was fantastic. Definitely, the glove was there. I think it was 8 Gold Gloves. I'm not sure, but he won a lot of Gold Gloves. Great defensive player, good offensive player. Not great offensive player, but I think definitely top 2. One of the better Orioles of all time. Definitely defensively, maybe there wasn't a better one that we've ever had than Mark Belanger, certainly in the infield as well. The B, Al Bumry. There's another guy, 10 years with the Orioles, the center fielder for so much of the success they had in the 70s and early 80s. I loved watching him. He had great speed. Like I wish we had more guys like this in the league now to a certain extent. Guys like Rock Raines and Ricky Henderson, our rest in peace, and guy, who ran the bases. You always had a guy who could set the tone. That's what Bumry did for so many years. Set the tone at the top of the order, played great center field for so many years, and the Orioles won a lot of games while he was there. Bumry, I think 13, the Otter. I can't wait to talk to Greg Olson one day. That's a contract. We're going to start doing interviews this year with players. And one of the ones on my list to reach out to is the Otter Greg Olson. That curveball out of sight, man. I've never seen anything like Greg Olson's curveball. I think, again, injuries probably – he's got more saves than anybody in Orioles history. But I think the injuries and probably maybe derailed it where he could have really been – a Hall of Famer in everything says, but he unhittable. That curveball when that fastball was going. Otter, number 12. Brady Anderson. I'm a little surprised there's not more love for Brandon Walsh here. Brady Anderson. I saw him for years as kind of the lieutenant to Cal on the roster. He was the second longest tenured guy. Long tenured. There's not a lot of love for Brady as much as I think it is, but the numbers bear it out. Worried about him. Maybe he took steroids. I don't know that. But I thought Brady was terrific as well. I think he was kind of not quite a Bumry / power hitter / tone setter as well. But I thought Anderson was really good throughout the course of his career. Adam Jones. Win-loss is the only reason he's 10. This was the guy, I think, if the modern day, the young people are looking at it, this is the face of the franchise as well. Glad to see that they retired it, that they bring him back. I'm hoping that they go ahead and retire his jersey at some point. Adam Jones, I thought, was the guy for the Orioles for so many years in center field. Great power hitter, hit for average. He just recently retired, so Adam Jones, I thought, was fantastic. I would like to have seen him retire as an Oriole as well. I mean, really retire. I mean, not just retire the one-day contract thing, but I really would like to have seen that worked out as well. Couple more. Boog Powell. Got rid of the Boog's Barbecue and the great barbecue out there. Boog, I thought, was an excellent old-school power hitter. Just swing for the fence. Everything they tell you not to do, that's what Boog did. Boog was a fantastic power hitter as well. Boog, I think the success they had, the greatest Oriole era of success, Boog was a large part of it. These two are next. Mike Cuellar, I think, was fantastic. I think definitely you talk about the greatest rotation maybe in Oriole history, one of the greatest rotations in baseball history. Mike Cuellar was absolutely a part of it. I cannot separate him and Dave McNally. Same thing. That rotation that they had, the reason they had so much success is because they had so many great years of these guys. Two of the all-time leaders in wins. Dave McNally and Mike Cuellar were fantastic. The Moose, Mike Mussina. I loved him, man. He was the ace of my coming up of Orioles, right? when I was in my 20s and a young guy watching the Moose mow him down. Again, wish that he stayed the Oriole his whole career. But I think he won 19 games, I think, as many times as anybody. He was fantastic as well. Knew how to pitch, kind of like what I saw, like you saw with Burns last year. People are worried about Burns' velocity. No, he just knows how to pitch. Right? He's saving his stuff. He always keeps his stuff. Moose was always in control on the mound. He had excellent location, good stuff to go with it. He would use it when he needed it, and a lot like Burns. I think like what you see. Moose was terrific. Eddie Murray. Eddie. One of the tragedies is they couldn't have Eddie and Cal play for years. Kind of got into a beef with the owner. People think Edward Bennett Williams is a racist, didn't want a black player. I don't know. But I know Eddie, I think, is one of the greatest hitters of all time. No question about it. Murray, I think, was my favorite Oriole when he was there growing up. I wanted an Eddie Murray jersey, 33. Remember asking my mom for Eddie Murray jersey. I thought Eddie was a fantastic hitter, a fantastic contact hitter as well. Hit for power, but he was a fantastic contact hitter. Rest in peace, the great Frank Robinson. I think he was one of the most influential black athletes of all time. I think not as much as Jackie Robinson, but certainly you talk about a guy as a black man with respect and honor, and a lot of during a times where there was racial disharmony and everything like that. Oh, and by the way, he was a tremendous home run hitter, MVP in both leagues. I think he's for all time. Former Orioles manager, former Orioles assistant GM. I think one of the greatest baseball men of all time. Brooks Robinson, a lot of people call him Mr. Oriole. Absolutely no problem with that. We lost Brooks Robinson not that long ago. I think Brooks, the greatest defensive third baseman in the history of the game. I think he's 16 Gold Gloves. The greatest Oriole era of success between the late 60s and the early 80s. Brooks was there for a lot of that. Brooks played 20 seasons with the Baltimore Orioles. He's fantastic. I thought, too, he's really good on the booth. That's kind of like my first memory. He was kind of retired when I was growing up watching, but him and Chuck Thompson doing the games really always stays with me. I thought he was much better. Kind of got had that little country folksy like tone, but he was really smart, brilliant of the game. Jim Palmer, the greatest winner in the history of baseball. He's like 70 plus years old, and looks like he could steal my wife. He still looks tremendous to be 70 plus years old. Jim, I thought, there's a smarter guy who's ever known the game of baseball and pitching more than Jim Palmer. I think Palmer, is a fantastic announcer. 200 some odd wins for the Orioles. The Orioles' success started with him and ended with him. When he left in 83, that was pretty much the down era of the Orioles. They had to build themselves back up until about 97. I think they never really could replace Jim Palmer. I think that was what it was. I think Palmer, fantastic as well. Underwear model. Women used to like him, etc. And I think still with the organization. I think he's been with the organization, 60 years. Outstanding, but not more than the Iron Man, Cal Ripken. Superhuman. I just cannot believe it still. After 20, we're at 30 years now, I think, since he broke the record. I still can't believe it. How good Cal Ripken was. Never missed a game, played shortstop, played third base, was a leader of the team. While he was doing an Ironman streak, stayed for an hour every night to sign autographs for fans who were standing there waiting just to talk to him. I think the only flaw in Cal's game, I think he played too much. I think he started to wear down. Even when he stopped playing the everyday streak, I think he even had a second run there. Outstanding. Number one of all time. No surprise. Cal Ripken. All right. We'll see you after the Ravens and Browns. Thank you very much for joining us on the Ravery Sports Podcast. Enjoy all the games. You have a great day.